My stepbrother secretly filmed me for our entire relationship and sold the footage. The notification that changed everything popped up on my laptop at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'd been cramming for my organic chemistry midterm, surviving on energy drinks and determination, when I accidentally clicked on the wrong browser tab. Instead of my study notes, I found myself staring at a porn site that Jake had apparently forgotten to close. I was about to slam the laptop shut, gross, right, when I saw the thumbnail that made my blood freeze. It was me. Unmistakably me, in Jake's dorm room, wearing the blue lingerie I'd bought for our 6-month anniversary last year. The same lingerie I thought only he had ever seen. My hands started shaking as I clicked on the video. The username read StepsInXXX and the title made me want to throw up. Innocent stepsister gets what she deserves, Part 7. Part 7. The view count showed 47,382. The comments were disgusting. And there, in the corner of the video player, was a small camera icon I'd never noticed before, tucked behind his textbooks on the shelf above his bed. I scrolled down with trembling fingers. The account had been active for 23 months, almost our entire relationship. Video after video of our most intimate moments, each with thousands of views, each tagged with words that made my skin crawl. The pricing structure was laid out like a business model, $15 for individual videos, $40 for monthly access, $150 for the complete stepsister collection. Jake had made $23,847 selling footage of me. Of us. Without my knowledge. Without my consent. I sat there in my tiny off-campus apartment, still wearing his old Northwestern hoodie that smelled like his cologne, trying to process what I was seeing. This was the same guy who'd held me when I cried about my parents' divorce. Who'd brought me soup when I had the flu last semester. Who'd whispered that he loved me just last weekend when we thought we were alone in his room. Except we were never alone. That camera had been watching us the entire time. The worst part? Reading through his account activity, I could see the pattern. Our relationship milestones perfectly aligned with his upload schedule. Our first time together, which had been my first time, period, was titled Virgin Stepsister's First Lesson and had over 200,000 views. The weekend I'd finally said I loved him back was packaged as a 2-part series called Making My Stepsister Fall for Me. He'd been planning this. All of it. I grabbed my phone to call him, my finger hovering over his contact. Jake read heart with a photo from our trip to Lake Michigan last summer, both of us laughing and soaked from the waves. But then I stopped. If I confronted him now, panicked and emotional, he'd just deny everything. Delete the evidence. Probably upload even more footage out of spite. No. Jake thought he was so smart, turning our relationship into his personal ATM while I played the naive little stepsister who didn't suspect a thing. He'd been manipulating me for profit while I was falling in love with him for real. But I wasn't the same girl who'd let him lead me into that first kiss 2 years ago. I was a junior at Northwestern, Dean's List every semester, and I knew how to think strategically. If Jake wanted to play games, I'd play games. I was going to destroy him. But I was going to be smart about it. I opened a new browser window and started researching Illinois revenge porn laws. The research I did that night made my stomach turn. Illinois had criminalized non-consensual pornography in 2015, making it a Class 4 felony punishable by up to 3 years in prison. The federal FOSTA-SESTA laws meant the platforms hosting Jake's content could also face serious consequences. I had a real case here. But as dawn broke through my apartment windows, I discovered something that made everything infinitely worse. I'd been systematically going through StepsInXXX's entire catalog, documenting everything for evidence, when I found a folder labeled Future Content. My heart dropped as I realized what I was looking at, a content calendar. Jake had planned out our next 6 months together like a Netflix release schedule. Spring break beach trip, bikini content plus outdoor scenarios. Her 23rd birthday, surprise roleplay series. Graduation weekend, final college collection. Summer living together, daily life content, consider 24/7 streaming? He'd been 3 steps ahead of me this entire time. That romantic beach house he'd suggested for spring break? The surprise birthday weekend he'd been planning? The apartment he'd found for us to share after graduation? All of it was just content opportunities to him. But the worst discovery came when I found his private messages with buyers. Custom requests. People paying extra to see specific scenarios, specific outfits, specific acts. Jake had been taking orders like some sort of perverted catalog company, then manipulating our relationship to fulfill them. User paying Daddy 97 had paid $500 for stepsister in schoolgirl outfit, pigtails, extra innocent roleplay. I remembered that night. Jake had surprised me with the outfit, said he had a fantasy he was embarrassed to share. I'd felt so special that he trusted me enough to open up about what he wanted. Another user, Lonely Stepdad, had a standing $200 per month subscription specifically requesting emotional vulnerability content, crying, makeup running, comfort sex scenarios. Looking back through Jake's messages, I could trace this back to the night I'd broken down about my dad missing my birthday. Jake had been so understanding, so comforting. The sex afterward had felt like this beautiful moment of connection. But Jake had orchestrated my dad missing my birthday. I found the screenshot of a fake emergency text Jake had sent my dad from a spoofed number, claiming I'd specifically asked not to be contacted that day because I was dealing with some mental health stuff. Jake had deliberately hurt me to create content. My phone buzzed with a text from him, miss you, beautiful. Can't wait to see you tonight. Wear that red dress I like. Face blowing a kiss. I checked the content calendar. Today was marked, red dress dinner date, romantic GF experience content priority, lonely stepdad paid $800 bonus for this scenario. Someone had paid Jake $800 to watch him take me to dinner in a specific dress, probably expecting us to come back to his room afterward. I was literally a paid performer in my own relationship, except I didn't know I was performing. I looked at myself in my bathroom mirror. 22 years old, chemistry major, honor student, and I'd been played by my stepbrother like I was some naive child. But as I stared at my reflection, something shifted. Jake thought he was the mastermind here. He thought he had all the power because he had all the information. He was wrong. I opened my laptop and started typing a response to his text, can't wait. I love when you plan special surprises for us. You're so thoughtful. Red heart. Let him think I was still his clueless little cash cow. Tonight, I'd start gathering the evidence I needed to bury him. The red dress felt like a costume as I stood in front of Jake's dorm room door at exactly 7:30 p.m. I'd spent the day preparing for this performance, downloading a hidden recording app on my phone, practicing my surprised expressions in the mirror, and researching how to properly document evidence for law enforcement. Jake opened the door with that same charming smile that used to make my heart skip. Now all I could think about was the $800 price tag attached to this moment. "You look incredible," he said, pulling me close for a kiss. Over his shoulder, I spotted the camera immediately now that I knew where to look. A tiny black device tucked between his biology textbooks, its red recording light barely visible but definitely active. "You're not so bad yourself," I managed, letting him lead me into the room. I had to act normal. Loving. Completely oblivious. Dinner was at Romano's, the Italian place where he'd taken me for our first official date. Jake was being extra attentive, refilling my wine glass, asking about my classes, playing the perfect boyfriend. But now I could see the calculation behind every gesture. When he reached across to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear, I noticed him glancing at his phone to check the time. He was probably wondering if we'd get back to his room by 10 p.m., when his subscriber count was typically highest. "I've been thinking about us a lot lately," Jake said over dessert, taking my hand across the table. "About our future." "Really?" I squeezed his fingers, trying to channel the girl I'd been yesterday morning. "What about it?" "That apartment I showed you? The one-bedroom near campus?" His thumb traced circles on my palm. "I put a deposit down today. Figured we could move in together after graduation, start the next chapter of our lives." My stomach clenched. I'd found that apartment on his content calendar too. Summer living situation, 24/7 access content opportunity with a projected income of $15,000 per month. He wasn't planning our future together, he was planning to turn our entire lives into a lip-streamed performance. "Jake, that's amazing," I said, making my voice breathy with excitement. "I can't believe you did that without telling me. I wanted it to be a surprise." He lifted our joined hands to kiss my knuckles. "I know these past 2 years have been complicated because of our parents, but you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." The sincerity in his voice almost broke my resolve. For just a moment, I wondered if I'd misunderstood everything. If maybe there was an explanation that didn't involve him systematically exploiting me for profit. Then his phone buzzed with a notification, and I caught a glimpse of the screen. A message from lonely stepdad: "She looks perfect tonight. The vulnerability in her eyes is exactly what I paid for. Can't wait for part 2. Jake quickly flipped his phone over, but not before typing back, "Part 2 starts in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. That's how long he calculated it would take to get me back to his room and into position for whatever scenario he'd promised his paying customer. "Should we head back?" Jake asked, signaling for the check. "I have something special planned for dessert." I bet he did. "I'd love that," I said, standing up and smoothing my dress. As Jake paid the bill, I discreetly activated the recording app on my phone. If he wanted to put on a show tonight, I'd make sure to capture every single word. Walking back across campus, Jake's arm around my waist, I caught my reflection in the windows we passed. I looked like the same girl who trusted him with everything. But underneath the red dress and practiced smile, I was gathering ammunition. In exactly 18 minutes, Jake was going to discover that his naive little stepsister had learned how to play the game too. And I was much better at it than he ever suspected. Back in Jake's room, I perched on the edge of his bed while he dimmed the lights and lit a few candles. The romantic atmosphere felt like a movie set now that I knew we had an audience paying $800 for this exact scene. "You seem different tonight," Jake said, settling beside me. His hand found my knee, fingers tracing the hem of my dress. "More present, I guess?" If only he knew how present I actually was. Every word, every touch, every calculated move was being burned into my memory and recorded on my phone. "I've just been thinking about what you said at dinner," I replied, leaning into him. "About our future together. It makes me feel so safe, knowing you're planning ahead for us." Jake's smile faltered for just a microsecond. "Safe? Well, yeah. I mean, with everything that's happened with our parents' marriage, and starting my senior year, and worrying about life after graduation." I let my voice catch slightly. "Sometimes I feel so overwhelmed, like everyone can see how lost I am." I watched Jake's expression shift, his eyes actually lighting up. He was practically salivating at my display of vulnerability. According to his message history, emotional content commanded premium pricing. "Hey, look at me." He cupped my face in his hands. "You're not lost. You're incredible. You're going to graduate summa cum laude, get into whatever grad program you want, and I'll be right there supporting you through all of it." His phone, lying face down on the nightstand, buzzed twice in rapid succession. New messages from his audience, probably commenting on my performance in real time like some sick interactive experience. "Sometimes I wonder what I did to deserve you," I whispered, letting him pull me closer. "Like, what if you wake up one day and realize you could do so much better than your complicated stepsister?" "Never," Jake said firmly, his hand sliding to my waist. "You're perfect exactly as you are." Another buzz from his phone. Then another. "You're not going to check that?" I asked, nodding toward his nightstand. "It's not important." But I could see his fingers twitching, desperate to read what his customers were saying. "Nothing's more important than this. Than us." I shifted position, intentionally blocking his view of the camera while pretending to get more comfortable. "Can I tell you something?" "Anything." "I've never felt as close to anyone as I do to you." I traced patterns on his chest through his shirt. "Like, I know our situation is unconventional, but it feels like we have this secret world that's just ours. Does that make sense?" Jake's breathing quickened. He had no idea how literally true my words were, or that I discovered exactly who else had access to our secret world. "It makes perfect sense," he said. "That's exactly how I feel too." His phone lit up with another notification. This time I caught a glimpse of the preview. "This is incredible content. She has no idea she's being watched. When do we get to see her dash?" "Jake?" I interrupted, watching his face carefully. "What do you think about privacy? Like, in relationships?" He went very still. "Privacy?" I mean, do you think couples should share everything with each other? Or is it healthy to have some separate spaces? I kept my voice light, curious. My psych professor was talking about boundaries in intimate relationships, and I've been wondering what you think. Jake glanced at his buzzing phone, then back at me. I think honesty is the most important thing. Trust. Trust, I repeated. Yeah, that's everything, isn't it? Like, if someone violated that trust, especially someone you love. I shook my head. I can't even imagine how devastating that would be. Jake's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. Why are you asking about this? No reason. Just thinking out loud. I smiled up at him. I'm probably overthinking things. You know how I get. But I could see the wheels turning in his head now. The slight panic creeping into his eyes as he wondered if I somehow suspected something. His phone buzzed again. This time, instead of ignoring it, Jake reached for it almost reflexively. Actually, I said, catching his wrist, maybe you should get that. It might be important. Jake's hand froze under my grip, his phone still buzzing insistently against the nightstand. I could feel his pulse racing where my fingers wrapped around his wrist. It's probably just Marcus asking about tomorrow's study group, he said, but his voice had lost that smooth confidence from dinner. Nothing that can't wait. I let my thumb brush across his skin, feeling how clammy he'd gotten in the past 30 seconds. You sure? It seems urgent. The phone finally stopped buzzing, but I could see Jake's relief was short-lived. Within seconds, it started again. Someone was really trying to get his attention. Okay, fine, let me just. He tried to pull away, but I held on, tilting my head with innocent curiosity. Actually, I'm kind of curious now. You've been getting so many messages tonight. I shifted closer, my free hand playing with the collar of his shirt. During dinner, in the hallway, now. It's like someone's really desperate to reach you. Jake's eyes darted between me and his phone. It's probably just group chat stuff. You know how guys are with their stupid memes. But we both knew that wasn't true. The messages had been coming in every few minutes since we'd gotten back to his room, perfectly timed with our conversation. Almost like someone was watching and responding in real time. Marcus sends memes at 10:30 on a Tuesday? I asked, glancing at his alarm clock. Isn't he usually passed out by now? Different Marcus, Jake said quickly. From my econ class. He's a night owl. The lie came so easily to him. I wondered how many others he'd told me over the past 2 years. How many times he'd looked me in the eye and fabricated some story while his camera recorded every word. His phone lit up again, and this time the preview was long enough for me to read. Steps in XXX, payment of $400 has been sent for extended private session. She's even better tonight than usual. The dress was perfect. When does she dash? Jake snatched his phone away, but not fast enough. I went completely still, my hand dropping from his wrist like I'd been burned. The blood drained from my face, and I could feel my carefully constructed performance cracking around the edges. What? My voice came out as barely a whisper. What was that? What was what? But Jake's face had gone pale too. He was clutching his phone against his chest like he could somehow take back what I'd seen. That message. It mentioned my dress. I stood up from the bed, suddenly desperate to put distance between us. Jake, what was that message? You misread it. You're tired, it's late. Don't. The word came out sharper than I'd intended. Don't lie to me right now. Jake set his phone face down on the nightstand, his hands raised like he was approaching a wounded animal. Okay, let's just take a breath here. You're clearly upset about something, but I think you're misunderstanding what you saw. Steps in XXX, I said quietly. Someone just sent money to Steps in XXX and mentioned my dress specifically. I watched his face cycle through expressions, denial, calculation, panic, and finally something that looked almost like relief. Like he was tired of pretending. How long have you known? He asked. The question hit me like a physical blow. Not a denial. Not confusion. Just resignation and the assumption that I'd figured it out. I sank back down onto the bed, my legs suddenly unsteady. Even though I'd spent all day preparing for this moment, actually hearing him confirm it was devastating. Since last night. Jake nodded slowly, running his hands through his hair. The laptop. I knew I forgot to close something. You knew? My voice cracked. You knew I found out, and you still brought me here tonight? You still let me. The dinner was already planned. People were expecting. He gestured vaguely at his phone. I couldn't just cancel. People were expecting, I repeated numbly. Jesus Christ, Jake. People were expecting a show, so you decided to put me through this whole charade anyway? It wasn't a charade. For the first time since I'd confronted him, Jake's voice carried some conviction. My feelings for you are real. They've always been real. But not real enough to stop selling videos of me having sex. That started before. He sat down heavily beside me. Look, I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. It's not what I think. I turned to stare at him. What I think is that you've been secretly filming us for 2 years and making money off my body without my consent. Please tell me how that's not what I think. Jake was quiet for a long moment, and I could hear his phone still buzzing intermittently on the nightstand. His audience was probably wondering why the show had suddenly stopped. It started as just. Jake rubbed his face with both hands. God, this is going to sound terrible no matter how I explain it. Try me. It started as revenge porn. The words came out in a rush. Not against you, he added quickly, seeing my expression. Against my ex, Melissa. She cheated on me freshman year, really messed me up, and I had some videos of us together. I posted them online just to hurt her. I felt sick. Jake. But then I realized how much money people were paying for that content. Like, serious money. More than my work-study job, more than what my dad was sending for expenses. He glanced at his buzzing phone. So I started thinking about it as a business opportunity. A business opportunity, I repeated flatly. When you and I first started hooking up, it wasn't supposed to be anything serious. You know that. It was just this weird situation because of our parents, and we were both curious, and He shrugged helplessly. I figured I'd record a few videos, make some quick cash off the novelty of the step-sibling thing, and that would be it. But then it wasn't it. No. Because you were. Jake looked at me with something that might have been genuine regret. You were perfect for this. You're beautiful, you're naturally expressive, and you trusted me completely. The audience loved you. The money kept getting better. So you kept me around for content. My voice was eerily calm now. The shock was wearing off, replaced by a cold, clarifying anger. It wasn't like that. My feelings developed separately from the business side. The business side, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's what you call secretly filming me having sex and selling it to strangers? The business side? Jake's phone lit up again, and this time he grabbed it, typing quickly. I caught a glimpse of his message, technical difficulties. Show resuming in 5 minutes. Are you serious right now? I stood up so fast I felt dizzy. You're texting your customers while we're having this conversation? They paid for a full session. If I just disappear, they'll demand refunds, leave bad reviews. He looked up at me like this should make perfect sense. This is my income, Sophie. I can't just throw away money. Your income. The words tasted bitter. How much? What? How much money have you made selling videos of me? Jake hesitated. Does that really matter right now? How? Much. Including tonight? Around $38,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. $38,000. That was more than my dad made in half a year at the plant. That was a full year of my tuition. You made $38,000 selling my body without my consent, and you're worried about disappointing your customers with technical difficulties? Sophie, please just listen. No. I grabbed my purse from his desk chair. I'm done listening. Where are you going? Away from you. I headed for the door, then paused with my hand on the knob. Oh, and Jake? You might want to check Illinois revenge porn laws. Specifically the part about class 4 felonies. His face went white. You wouldn't. Try me. I yanked the door open. And next time you want to film someone for your business side? Maybe ask first. I slammed his door hard enough that Mrs. Peterson across the hall poked her head out to investigate. But I was already running for the stairs, my phone clutched in my hand with 47 minutes of recorded confession that was going to destroy Jake's entire world. The real show was just getting started. I made it halfway across campus before my legs gave out. I collapsed onto a bench near the library, my whole body shaking as the adrenaline crash hit me. The recording on my phone had captured everything, Jake's confession, the dollar amounts, his casual admission that he'd built our entire relationship around content creation. But having evidence and knowing what to do with it were two completely different things. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Sophie, please come back. We need to talk about this rationally. Then another, I know you're angry, but think about what you're risking here. This affects both of us. And a third, if this goes public, your reputation gets destroyed too. Is that really what you want? I stared at that last message, my hands clenching around my phone. He was threatening me. Even now, even after I'd caught him red-handed, Jake was trying to manipulate me into protecting him. My phone rang. Jake's contact photo, that stupid picture from Lake Michigan where we looked so happy, filled the screen. I declined the call, but he immediately called back. And again. Finally, I answered. What? Thank God. Sophie, listen to me. I know you're hurt. Hurt? I laughed bitterly. I'm destroyed, Jake. You've been prostituting me for 2 years without my knowledge. That's not what this was. You're catastrophizing. $38,000 says otherwise. There was a pause. Look, I get why you're upset, but you need to think strategically here. If you go to the police, this becomes public record. Your name will be attached to this forever. Every future employer, every grad school, every guy you date, they'll all be able to find those videos. My stomach clenched because he was right. That was the sick genius of what he'd done. The victim becomes complicit in their own silence because exposure means humiliation. Plus, Jake continued, his voice taking on that familiar persuasive tone, technically, you benefited from this too. All those dinners I paid for, the jewelry, that weekend in Milwaukee, your textbooks junior year when you were short on cash, where do you think that money came from? You're saying I'm an accessory? I'm saying the situation is more complicated than you're making it. We both participated in creating this content, even if you weren't aware of the business arrangement. Business arrangement. He kept using these sanitized terms like they could somehow clean the filth off what he'd done. Jake, you filmed me without consent and sold the footage. That's a crime. There's nothing complicated about it. Is it though? Because technically, we were in my room, which means single-party consent laws might apply. And you willingly participated in everything that was filmed. A good lawyer could argue. Are you seriously mansplaining consent laws to me right now? I'm trying to help you understand the legal reality before you do something we'll both regret. I was about to hang up when I heard voices in the background of his call. Male voices, laughing about something. Then I heard Jake say, yeah, she found out. No, it's fine, I'm handling it. Who's there with you? I asked. Jake went quiet. Who's there, Jake? Just, some friends. What friends? It's almost midnight on a Tuesday. I heard someone in the background say, tell her Marcus says hi, followed by more laughter. A horrible realization crept over me. Jake, how many people know about the videos? Sophie. How many people know you've been filming me? The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Then, quietly, it's not what you think. But I was already running back toward his dorm, my heels clicking against the sidewalk. Because I was starting to suspect that Jake's little business venture was bigger than just him and a hidden camera. Much bigger. I burst through the dorm entrance, my keycard beeping as I swiped it with shaking hands. The elevator felt like it took forever, each floor lighting up with agonizing slowness. 3rd floor. 4th. 5th. The hallway was eerily quiet except for the muffled sound of voices coming from Jake's room. Male voices. Multiple people laughing and talking over each other like they were having some kind of party. At 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, I pressed my ear to Jake's door, my heart hammering so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. Through the thin wood, I caught fragments of conversation. Told you she'd figure it out eventually. But did you see her face when she read that message? Priceless. Marcus, pull up that compilation video from last month. My blood turned to ice. Marcus. Jake's roommate Marcus, who I'd known since sophomore year. Who'd always been friendly to me, asked about my classes, complimented my outfits. Who'd been in and out of Jake's room during countless study sessions and movie nights while Jake and I were together. Marcus knew. Marcus had known the entire time. I fumbled for my phone and restarted the recording app, then knocked on the door. The voices inside immediately went quiet. After a moment, Jake opened the door just wide enough to see me, his body blocking my view of the room. Sophie, what are you doing here? I thought you went home. I want to talk. I pushed past him into the room and froze. Marcus was there, sitting at Jake's desk with a laptop open. But he wasn't alone. Two other guys I recognized from Jake's economics class were sprawled on the floor with beers, and there was someone I'd never seen before sitting on Marcus's bed with what looked like professional camera equipment spread out around him. All of them were staring at me like I'd walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. Guys, give us a minute, Jake said quickly. Actually, no, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I think they should stay. Since apparently everyone here already knows about your little business venture. Marcus had the decency to look uncomfortable, at least. He closed his laptop and wouldn't meet my eyes. Sophie, You what, Marcus? You're sorry? You didn't mean for me to find out? I looked around the room at all of them. How long have all of you known that Jake's been filming me? The stranger with the camera equipment, a guy with bleached hair and multiple piercings, actually laughed. Filming you? Lady, we've been helping produce this content for months. Shut up, Dylan, Jake snapped. Produce? I turned to stare at Jake. What does he mean, produce? Dylan gestured at his equipment. Professional lighting setup, multiple camera angles, audio enhancement. Your boyfriend here wasn't just recording you with some hidden webcam. This was a whole operation. The room started spinning. I grabbed the edge of Jake's dresser to steady myself. Multiple cameras? 3 different angles for most shoots, Dylan continued, ignoring Jake's murderous glare. Sometimes 4 if we could set up the overhead mount without you noticing. We? My voice cracked. Marcus finally spoke up. Sophie, it wasn't supposed to go on this long. At first it was just Jake messing around with some recordings, but then the money got so good, and Dylan offered to help improve the production value. And you all just decided to turn me into your personal porn star without mentioning it to me? The content was already being made, one of the guys from econ class said. We just helped make it more profitable. More profitable. I laughed, but it sounded hysterical even to me. How much more profitable? Jake and Marcus exchanged a look. How much? I demanded. The channel hit 6 figures last month, Dylan said proudly. Your little step-sibling storyline is premium content. We've got subscribers paying $200 monthly just for exclusive access to your videos. 6 figures. They'd made over $100,000 selling footage of me, and I'd been walking around campus completely oblivious while 5 different guys treated me like their shared business asset. Sophie, Jake started, I can explain. No, I said quietly. I don't think you can. I turned and walked out of the room, leaving them all sitting there with their cameras and their laptops and their $100,000 in profit. But this time, I wasn't running away. I was going straight to the police station, and I was bringing every single recording I'd made tonight. Jake thought he was running a business. He was about to learn what a federal investigation looked like. The police station at midnight was not what I'd expected. Instead of the bustling crime drama atmosphere I'd imagined, it was eerily quiet, fluorescent lights humming over empty plastic chairs in the waiting area. The desk sergeant, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, barely glanced up when I walked in clutching my phone like a lifeline. I need to report a crime, I said, my voice hoarse from crying during the 10-minute walk from campus. What kind of crime, hon? Revenge porn. Non-consensual filming and distribution of intimate content. The legal terms I'd researched felt strange in my mouth, too clinical for what had actually been done to me. She looked up then, really looked at me for the first time. How old are you? 22. And this just happened? I just found out about it tonight. But it's been going on for almost 2 years. The sergeant's expression softened slightly. Okay. Let me get Detective Morrison down here. She handles our cybercrimes unit. She picked up her phone. Morrison? Got a young woman here reporting revenge porn. Yeah, sounds like a big one. While we waited, I sat in one of those plastic chairs and tried to organize my thoughts. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life implode. 3 hours ago, I'd been getting ready for what I thought was a romantic dinner with my boyfriend. Now I was in a police station preparing to destroy 5 people's lives. My phone buzzed with another text from Jake. Sophie, please don't do anything irreversible. We can work this out privately. Then Marcus, this is going to hurt you more than it hurts us. Think about what you're throwing away. And a number I didn't recognize, we have lawyers too. Your consent can be argued in court. I screenshot all of them. Detective Morrison turned out to be a woman in her early 40s with kind eyes and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd seen too much. She led me to a small interview room and set up a recording device after I consented to having our conversation documented. Tell me everything, she said. Start from the beginning. So I did. I told her about the laptop discovery, about the steps in XXX account, about Jake's confession and the $38,000. I told her about finding Dylan and the professional equipment, about Marcus and the other guys, about the 6-figure income they built selling my body. Detective Morrison's expression grew darker with each detail. You mentioned recording tonight's conversations? She asked. I nodded, pulling out my phone. Both the confession and the conversation with all of them together. They admitted to everything. As we listened to the recordings together, Morrison took detailed notes. When Dylan's voice came through the speaker bragging about production values and profit margins, she actually winced. This is extensive, she said when the recording's finished. Multiple perpetrators, significant financial gain, sophisticated operation. We're looking at federal charges here, not just state. Federal? Interstate commerce, online distribution, possible tax evasion if they weren't reporting this income. She leaned forward. Sophie, I need you to understand something. Once we start this investigation, there's no taking it back. These men will be arrested. The videos will become evidence, which means law enforcement will have to review them. Defense attorneys will scrutinize everything about your relationship and your behavior looking for ways to discredit you. My hands started shaking again. But they broke the law. Absolutely they did. I'm just making sure you know what you're signing up for. These cases can take years to resolve, and they're not easy on the victims. Before I could respond, her phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and frowned. Morrison. What? When? Are you sure? Okay, thanks. She hung up and looked at me grimly. Sophie, that was campus security. They got a call about suspicious activity in your dorm building 20 minutes ago. Someone reported seeing multiple men with cameras and equipment heading toward the sophomore residence halls. My blood went cold. My building? What's your room number? 237. Morrison was already grabbing her jacket. We need to go. Now. As we rushed out of the station toward her squad car, she called for backup and a warrant. But all I could think about was my roommate Jenna, asleep in our room, completely unaware that Jake's business venture was apparently expanding to include breaking and entering. They weren't just content creators anymore. They were escalating. And I was the only one who could stop them. Detective Morrison's squad car flew through the empty campus streets, red and blue lights cutting through the darkness. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I tried calling Jenna's cell phone for the 4th time. Straight to voicemail. She's a heavy sleeper, I told Morrison, though my voice sounded unconvincing even to me. She always turns her phone off at night. How would they have gotten into your building? Morrison asked, taking a sharp turn toward the sophomore dorms. Jake has my spare keycard. I gave it to him months ago for emergencies. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd handed him access to violate my privacy even further. But I don't understand why they'd go there. All their equipment was in his room. Morrison's radio crackled, Unit 47 to Detective Morrison. We're on scene at Northwestern Sophomore Housing. Building secure, no signs of forced entry. Copy that. Any visual on suspects? Negative. But we've got campus security reviewing keycard access logs now. As we pulled into the parking lot, I could see lights on in several dorm windows, probably students woken up by the police activity. Morrison parked near the entrance where 2 uniformed officers were waiting. Detective Morrison? The taller officer approached our car. We've got something you need to see. He led us into the building and up to the 2nd floor. As we rounded the corner toward my hallway, I saw my door standing wide open with yellow crime scene tape across the entrance. Room was like this when we arrived, the officer explained. Roommate's fine, she was actually in the library pulling an all-nighter. Lucky break. Morrison snapped on latex gloves and ducked under the tape. I followed, my heart pounding as I took in the destruction. Our room had been systematically searched. Dresser drawers pulled out, my laptop bag emptied across my desk, even my laundry basket overturned. But what made my stomach drop was what I found on Jenna's bed. Professional camera equipment. The same gear I'd seen in Jake's room an hour ago, now carefully arranged with cables running toward my side of the room. One camera was positioned to capture my bed from the perfect angle. Another was mounted near the window, aimed at my desk area where I usually studied. They were setting up a more permanent installation, Morrison said grimly, photographing everything. Planning to record you in your private space without your knowledge. But how did they get in here so fast? I left Jake's room maybe 40 minutes ago. According to the keycard logs, the other officer said, consulting his tablet, your spare card was used to access the building at 11:52 p.m. That's 12 minutes after campus security logged the disturbance call. I did the math. I was still in the police station when they used my keycard. They came here immediately after I left Jake's room. Morrison's expression darkened. Which means they had this planned as a backup. When you discovered their operation, they moved to phase 2. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We installed a few upgrades in your room. Don't worry, the cameras are motion activated, so they'll only record when you're doing something interesting. Consider it a business expansion. I showed the message to Morrison, who immediately called for a tech unit to trace the number. There's more, the first officer said, holding up an evidence bag. We found this on the roommate's desk. Inside the bag was a printed note in block letters. Your stepsister is going to make us a lot more money. Tell her the customer demand for realistic dorm content is through the roof. She can cooperate willingly or we can work around her objections. The casual threat in those words made me physically ill. They weren't just planning to film me anymore, they were threatening to continue regardless of my consent, turning my own living space into their production studio. Detective Morrison, I said quietly, staring at the cameras pointed toward my bed, I want to press charges against all of them. Federal charges. She nodded, already calling the district attorney's office. Sophie, we're going to need you to stay somewhere else tonight. This is now an active crime scene, and honestly, it's not safe for you to be here. As if on cue, my phone rang. Jake's contact photo filled the screen, that stupid, happy picture that I should have deleted hours ago. This time, I answered it. You called the police, Jake said without preamble. His voice was flat, emotionless. Yes. That was a mistake. You think this is over because you talked to some small-town detective? Jake's voice carried a cold confidence that made my skin crawl. Sophie, you have no idea how deep this goes. Detective Morrison was already signaling for the tech unit to trace the call, but I kept Jake talking. What's that supposed to mean? It means we have clients. Serious clients with serious money who've been promised specific content. His laugh was bitter. You think this was just me and Marcus playing around with a webcam? We're part of a network, Sophie. A very profitable network that doesn't appreciate disruptions. My mouth went dry. What kind of network? The kind that has your real name, your social security number, your parents' address in Milwaukee, your class schedule, your work-study job at the chemistry lab. Each piece of information hit like a physical blow. The kind that considers you a business asset worth protecting. Morrison was frantically scribbling notes, her face grim as she listened to Jake's casual threats. "You're trying to scare me," I said, though my voice was shaking. "I'm trying to educate you. Do you know what happens to girls who try to shut down profitable operations? Let me give you a hint, it doesn't involve them just walking away to live normal lives." The line went dead. Morrison immediately grabbed her radio. "This is Detective Morrison requesting immediate protection detail for our victim. We have credible threats and evidence of organized criminal activity. Detective," the tech officer called from across my destroyed room. "You need to see this." We crowded around my laptop, which they'd managed to boot up despite the damage. The screen showed multiple file folders I'd never seen before: Sophie_content_archive, distribution_network_contacts, custom_request_queue, and worst of all, future_targets. "They've been using your computer as a server," the tech officer explained. "Uploading and storing content remotely. But look at this." He opened the future_targets folder, revealing photos of at least 20 different girls from campus. Pictures that looked like they'd been taken secretly: girls walking to class, studying in the library, working out at the gym. Each photo was labeled with a name, dorm information, and notes like freshman, naive type, or engineering major, high demand demographic. "Jesus Christ," Morrison breathed. "This isn't just revenge porn. This is human trafficking preparation." My legs gave out and I sank into Jenna's desk chair. They were going to do this to other girls? According to these files, they already have been. The tech officer clicked through more folders. "Looks like your stepbrother's operation was recruiting girls from at least 3 different colleges. You weren't their only victim, you were just their most profitable one." Morrison's phone rang. She answered it tersely. "Morrison. What do you mean gone? All of them? When?" She hung up and turned to me with barely contained fury. "Campus security went to arrest Jake and his associates 20 minutes ago. Their rooms are cleared out. No personal belongings, no equipment, nothing. They ran. But they can't have gotten far. Sophie, these guys had a $100,000 operation and a network of clients. They probably had escape plans in place from day one." Morrison started pacing. "The good news is we have all this evidence. The bad news is they're in the wind, and they clearly have resources." My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus: "Last chance to reconsider. Withdraw the police report and we disappear forever. Keep pushing this, and you'll discover exactly how many people have a financial interest in keeping you quiet." Then another, from Jake: "Check your email." With trembling fingers, I opened my email app. There was one new message from an address I didn't recognize, with a subject line: "Your complete file." The email contained dozens of attachments: photos, videos, personal documents, financial records, even medical information from the campus health center. Everything private about my life, compiled into a comprehensive dossier. The message body contained just one line: "Imagine what our clients could do with this information if you don't cooperate." Detective Morrison read over my shoulder, her jaw clenched. "That's it. We're getting you into protective custody tonight, and I'm calling the FBI. This just became a federal case." As she made the calls, I stared at my violated room with its hidden cameras and scattered belongings, realizing that Jake hadn't just stolen my privacy or my body. He'd stolen my entire identity. And now I was going to have to fight a criminal network I didn't even know existed to get my life back. The game had changed completely. But so had I. The FBI field office in downtown Chicago was nothing like the police station. Agent Sarah Chen, a compact woman with sharp eyes and an expensive suit, led me through a maze of cubicles to a conference room where my life was spread across a wall of monitors like some twisted art installation. "We've been tracking this network for 8 months, Agent Chen said, settling across from me with a thick file. "Your stepbrother's operation was bigger than even you realized." Detective Morrison sat beside me, looking as overwhelmed as I felt. "How much bigger?" Agent Chen clicked a remote, and the monitors lit up with organizational charts, financial records, and dozens of photos. Jake Williams wasn't running his own business. He was a regional coordinator for something called the Campus Content Collective, a trafficking ring operating across 14 universities in the Midwest. My stomach dropped. Trafficking ring? They recruit college-aged men to target female students, usually through romantic relationships or friendships. The women are filmed without consent, and the content is sold through a sophisticated network of subscription sites and private clients. She gestured to one of the screens. "Your content alone generated $347,000 in revenue over 23 months. The number hit me like a physical blow. $347,000. Not the $38,000 Jake had admitted to, that was apparently just his cut. "We've identified 47 victims across their network," Agent Chen continued. "Most have no idea they've been filmed. You're the first to discover the operation and come forward." Detective Morrison leaned forward. "What about Jake and his associates? Any leads on their location?" That's where things get complicated. Agent Chen pulled up a new screen showing flight records. Jake Williams, Marcus Peterson, and Dylan Torres boarded a flight to Mexico City at 6:47 this morning. They used fake IDs that we're still tracking. "Mexico?" My voice cracked. "They left the country?" "It gets worse. The phone Jake called you from last night? It was routed through 17 different servers across 6 countries. He wasn't calling from his dorm room, he was already at the airport." I thought about that conversation, how calm and calculated Jake had sounded while he threatened me. He'd been preparing to flee while I was still reeling from the discovery. "But here's what we need from you, Sophie." Agent Chen turned to face me directly. "The network is still operational. Jake's disappearance spooked some of the other coordinators, but they haven't shut down completely. We have a chance to take down the entire organization if we act fast." "What kind of chance?" "You received login credentials to their internal system when they were using your laptop as a server. Those credentials are still active. They probably assumed you'd never find them or wouldn't know what they were for." She was right. When the tech officer had shown me those folders on my computer, there had been a file labeled network_access_codes that I barely glanced at. "We want you to help us access their system," Agent Chen said. Get us inside their network so we can identify other victims, track their financial operations, and locate their leadership. Detective Morrison frowned. Is that safe? These people have already threatened her. We'll provide full protection. But Sophie, I won't lie to you, this could take months. You'd essentially be going undercover in your own life, pretending you never discovered the operation while we build our case. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Miss us yet? The network is bigger than you imagined, stepsister. Stop digging or learn exactly how deep this goes. Agent Chen saw the message and smiled grimly. They're scared. That's good, scared people make mistakes. I stared at the wall of monitors showing dozens of other girls like me, all unknowing victims in someone else's profit scheme. Jake had destroyed my life, but he was apparently just one small piece of something much larger and more dangerous. If I help you, I said quietly, can you guarantee you'll get all of them? Every coordinator, every client, everyone involved? If we do this right? Yes. I thought about Jake's threat, about the 47 other victims, about the girls in that future_targets folder. Then let's destroy them all. The FBI safe house was a nondescript apartment 20 minutes from campus, furnished with a kind of generic furniture that screamed temporary. Agent Chen had installed me there with a new phone, a laptop loaded with monitoring software, and strict instructions about when I could and couldn't leave. The network credentials are still active, she'd confirmed that morning. Jake's people haven't realized you have access yet, which gives us a window. But as I sat at the kitchen table staring at the login screen for something called CCC Internal Portal, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every click could potentially alert them that I was inside their system. I took a deep breath and entered the credentials the tech team had found buried in my laptop's files. The portal opened to what looked like a twisted social media platform. Dozens of user profiles with codenames like StepsInXXX, Dorm Room Daddy, and Sorority Hunter. Each profile had earnings dashboards, content libraries, and something called active target status. Jake's profile was still there, StepsInXXX, Coordinator Level 3, $347,000 total earnings, status, temporarily offline. But what made my blood freeze was the message waiting in his inbox. 17 unread messages from someone called Network Admin with timestamps from this morning. Your runner damaged network security. Cleanup required. Sophie Williams is now priority target. Full dossier attached. New coordinator assigned to your territory. Expect contact within 48 hours. I screenshot everything, my heart pounding as I realized they weren't just angry about Jake fleeing, they were actively replacing him. Someone else was being assigned to handle his territory, which apparently included me. The last message was sent just 2 hours ago. Target is in FBI protective custody. Alternate approach required. Activate asset number 247. Asset number 247. They had someone else. Someone already in position. My new phone buzzed with a call from Agent Chen. Sophie, we've got a problem. How well do you know your roommate Jenna? Jenna? She's been my roommate for 2 years. Why? We've been monitoring the network traffic since you logged in. Someone accessed the portal from a device registered to Jennifer Morrison, same last name as Detective Morrison but no relation. The IP address traces back to the campus library. My mouth went dry. That's impossible. Jenna doesn't know anything about this. Sophie, Jennifer Morrison has been a registered user on their platform for 14 months. Codename roommate access. She's been uploading content of you changing clothes, sleeping, studying in your room. I sank into the kitchen chair, everything clicking into place with horrible clarity. Jenna always volunteering to do laundry so she could go through my clothes. Jenna suggesting we rearrange our room furniture multiple times, always positioning my bed in better lighting. Jenna's new laptop freshman year that she said her parents bought her, even though I knew they were struggling financially. She's been working with them the whole time, I whispered. Gets worse. According to the financial records we're pulling, Jennifer Morrison has earned $23,400 selling what they call ambient lifestyle content of you. She's been Jake's inside source from day one. My phone rang. Jenna's name appeared on the caller ID with her usual contact photo, both of us making silly faces at a football game last fall. Don't answer it, Agent Chen warned through my FBI phone. She doesn't know we've identified her yet. But I was already swiping to accept the call, rage overriding caution. Hey roomie. Jenna's voice was artificially bright. I heard about what happened to our room. Are you okay? Where are you staying? Wouldn't you like to know? There was a pause. Sophie? You sound weird. Roommate access, I said quietly. $23,400. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, how did you find the portal? No denial. No confusion. Just immediate acknowledgement that she'd been caught. The better question is how long you've been selling footage of me sleeping. 14 months, Jenna said, her voice now completely different, cold and businesslike. Jake approached me spring semester sophomore year. Said he had a business opportunity that could help with my student loans. I was gripping the phone so hard my knuckles were white. So you decided to film me without my consent for money? It wasn't supposed to be a big deal. Just you getting dressed, doing normal room stuff. The clients pay premium for authentic college girl lifestyle content. She actually used air quotes in her voice. You were always so focused on your chemistry homework, you never noticed the camera angles. Through my FBI phone, I could hear Agent Chen coordinating with her team. They were tracing Jenna's location in real time. The camera angles, I repeated. You mean when you kept rearranging our furniture? When you insisted on better feng shui for my desk? The lighting by the window was perfect for morning routine footage. And your bed positioning gave great sleep content angles. Jenna's matter-of-fact tone was making me physically sick. Look, Sophie, I know you're angry, but I never filmed anything really private. No sex stuff, no shower content. That was Jake's department. Oh, how noble of you. I'm serious. I had boundaries. Jake kept pushing for bathroom access, wanted me to hide cameras in your shower, but I said no. I'm not a monster. You're right, I said, my voice deadly calm. Monsters don't pretend to be your friend for 2 years while profiting off your privacy. They're honest about what they are. Agent Chen's voice came through my earpiece, keep her talking. We've got her location, campus library, 3rd floor. Team is moving in now. Jenna, where are you right now? Why does that matter? Sophie, listen, Jake screwing you over was never part of the plan. The network is pissed about the FBI involvement. They're talking about cutting ties with everyone who had contact with you. Including you? Including me. Which is why I'm calling. We can fix this. I almost laughed. Fix this? You've been selling footage of me sleeping for over a year, and you think we can fix this? The network has people everywhere, Sophie. In law enforcement, in the university administration, even in federal agencies. You think the FBI can protect you, but they have no idea how deep this goes. Her voice took on an urgent edge. Meet me somewhere public. Let me show you how big this really is. Then you can decide if you want to keep fighting a war you can't win. Through my earpiece, Agent Chin whispered, she's trying to dry you out. Don't take the bait. But something in Jenna's tone caught my attention. She sounded scared, genuinely frightened in a way I'd never heard before. What aren't you telling me, Jenna? They know about your parents, Sophie. Your dad's job at the plant, your mom's medical bills from the cancer scare last year. They know about your grad school applications, your chemistry lab job, even your little sister's high school. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. Asset number 247 isn't just about replacing Jake's operation. They're planning to leverage everyone you care about. My blood turned to ice. What do you mean, leverage? I mean they're done being subtle. If you don't back off the FBI investigation, they're going to destroy your entire family to protect the network. The line went dead just as Agent Chin burst through the safe house door, her face grim. We got her, she said. But Sophie, we intercepted communications that confirm what she just told you. They're escalating beyond anything we anticipated. The FBI raid happened at dawn on a Thursday, exactly 3 weeks after that horrible night when I discovered Jake's laptop. Agent Chen had coordinated simultaneous strikes across 7 states, targeting every coordinator and client the network data had revealed. I watched from the safe house as news reports rolled in, 14 arrests in Illinois, 8 in Wisconsin, 12 in Ohio. The campus content collective was being dismantled piece by piece, and I had provided the key that unlocked everything. My phone, my real phone, not the FBI one, buzzed with a call from Detective Morrison. Sophie, we got him. Jake? Jake Williams was arrested at a hotel in Cancun 2 hours ago. Mexican authorities are processing his extradition as we speak. Marcus Peterson and Dylan Torres were picked up at the same location. I sank onto the safe house couch, relief flooding through me so intensely I started crying. After 3 weeks of protection details and testimony preparation, of jumping at every shadow and wondering if Jake's threats would materialize, it was finally over. What about the others? The network leadership? 43 arrests total, Morrison said. Including the guy they call network admin. Turns out he's a 47-year-old software engineer from Minneapolis who was making $2 million annually coordinating this operation. And Sophie? We recovered everything. Every video, every financial record, every victim file. Agent Chen walked into the room carrying a stack of legal documents and wearing the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in weeks. The arraignments start Monday, she said after I hung up with Morrison. Jake Williams is being charged with 23 federal counts including sex trafficking, racketeering, and wire fraud. With the evidence we have, he's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. And Jenna? Jennifer Morrison agreed to a plea deal yesterday. She'll serve 18 months in federal prison and pay full restitution, which in your case amounts to the $23,000 she earned, plus damages. Agent Chen sat down across from me. But here's the best part, the judge approved our request to freeze all network assets. Every penny they made gets distributed to victims for counseling, legal fees, and compensation. $347,000. My share of the victim compensation fund would cover not just my therapy and legal costs, but my entire graduate school tuition. Jake's betrayal was going to inadvertently pay for my PhD in chemistry. The irony was almost poetic. There's something else, Agent Chen continued. Your courage in coming forward led us to 46 other victims who never even knew they'd been filmed. Because of you, those women get justice too. 6 months later, I stood in a federal courtroom in downtown Chicago watching Jake Williams in an orange jumpsuit as the judge read his sentence, 18 years in federal prison without possibility of parole for 15 years. He looked different, thinner, hollow-eyed, nothing like the charming stepbrother who'd manipulated me for 2 years. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, Jake looked directly at me for the first time since his arrest. I'm sorry, Sophie, he said quietly. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know the feelings were real. At least at first. I stood up from the gallery and walked out without responding. Jake Williams had stolen 2 years of my life, violated my privacy, and turned my body into his personal ATM machine. But he hadn't broken me. If anything, I was stronger now. I'd learned I could survive betrayal, fight back against impossible odds, and help other women reclaim their power. My testimony had dismantled a criminal network and put dangerous predators behind bars. The campus content collective was dead. Jake was in prison. And I was finally free to live my life without looking over my shoulder. Justice, as it turned out, was the sweetest revenge of all.